Welcome to this Arnold Culliford knitwear tutorial on Vikkel braids. This tutorial is part of our Confident Knitting series, 12 projects to teach you 12 new techniques from the world's best knitting designers. Today's tutorial is going to show you how to work the Vikkel braids on Lily Kate France's beautiful Burnished Mittens. The braids are these rows of horizontal looking stitches that are used to frame the colourwork stitch pattern on the cuff of these mittens. They're very stretchy, they're not quite as small as they look. In this video I'm going to walk you through how to do two different types of braids. The first braid is a single colour braid that's used for the first 3 braid rows on this design. And obviously it's just worked with one colour, it's very straightforward. When you come to work the last braid, you have to work a 2-colour braid because you want the horizontal stitches to be in the grey, but you then want the stitches on your needles to be set up in the orange or whatever your main colour is for the rest of the mitten. So you have to work a 2-colour braid for the last one. And I'm going to walk you through how to do both of those. Just bear in mind that on the timeline, if you're watching on YouTube, if you hover over it, you'll see we have chapters in our video tutorials, and so you can jump straight to the section you need. If you've already watched the single colour part and you're happy with that and you just want to work the 2-colour braid, you can just jump straight to it using the chapters on the timeline. The first step to working the Vikkel braid is to cable cast on 1 stitch to begin with. So you put your right needle tip between the first and second stitches on the left needle tip. You wrap the yarn around, pull the loop through, and then pop that stitch onto the left needle tip. So that's a cable cast on of 1 stitch onto the left needle. We're now going to begin the basic Vikkel braid pattern, and the first job is to put the right needle tip into the back of the second stitch on the left needle. We then wrap the yarn around and we're going to pull that loop through. Note that we've left that second stitch on the left needle, we haven't slipped it off. We're now going to knit into the front of the first stitch on the left needle tip. It's going in without splitting it. There we go. Into the front, wrap the yarn round, pull the loop through, and now we can slip both stitches off the left needle tip. And to complete it, we're going to move that stitch, that first stitch on the right needle tip, back to the left needle tip. And now we work the same pattern again. We're going to go into the back of the second stitch on the left needle tip, wrap the yarn round and pull the loop through. We now knit into the front of the first stitch on the needle, pull the loop through, and then slip both stitches off the needle together. Then return 1 stitch from the right back to the left. And it doesn't look like very much to begin with, but as you continue to work this pattern into the back of the second, into the front of the first, slip them both off and return the stitch, you start to see that horizontal line of stitches appearing. Once you've done a few more stitches, you'll see that everything evens up a bit. It can look a little bit funny to begin with, but keep going and don't make any decisions about whether it's neat enough or not until you've done a good stretch. Here I've come to the end of the round and I've just slipped both stitches off the left hand needle onto the right hand needle, and the final step would be to return that stitch to the left needle, but we don't need to do that this time because that was the last stitch, so that one stays on the right needle, and we're going to break our yarn now and fasten off. So I'm going to leave a bit of a tail to weave in. And I'm now going to wrap that yarn around my needle tip and pull the last stitch over it and pull through. Okay, so that's fastened off that final stitch, and that's like the equivalent of the stitch that we cable cast on at the beginning. So you will at the end of this end up with the same number of stitches on your needles. And that completes your Vikkel braid, other than the clever way that you can weave in your ends so that it seamlessly hides the beginning of the round here. And I'll show you how to do that. So you can weave in your ends straight away, or you can do it once you've worked on a little bit, whichever's easiest for you. Thread the tail that you broke off onto a tapestry needle, and you're going to take it under both legs of that first horizontal stitch under the right hand needle. So we pull that through, and we're now going to take the tapestry needle back down through the final loop of the Vikkel braid that we've just pulled through and off. And if we go from front to back straight through there, you should be able to see that those two passing of stitches has completely mimicked the horizontal braid, so it's joined the end to the beginning. And if we weave in our end on the wrong side, once we've worked a few more rounds, it'll be completely invisible. We're now going to work a 2-colour Vikkel braid, and it's going to start off in the same way. We're going to cable cast on 1 stitch onto the left hand needle tip. And now we're aiming to make a horizontal braid in this grey colour, but we want to set up the stitches for the next round in the orange colour. So when we now start our braid motion, we're going to go into the back of the second stitch as before, and this time we're going to use the orange yarn to knit that. We're then going to go into the front of the first stitch, and we're going to use the grey to work that stitch. We then slip them both off as normal, and we pop the grey stitch back onto the left needle tip. And it's going to continue like that all the way around. So we go into the back of the second stitch, and we wrap round with the orange colour, or the colour you want on your needles, leaving the stitches on. You then go into the front of the next stitch, and you're going to use the grey, or the colour you want the horizontal braid to be, to knit that one, and then slip them both off. And as before, when it starts off, it looks a little bit messy, but as you go, it all kind of miraculously neatens up. Make sure you're not working with the tail. Use the orange yarn to work into the back, and the grey yarn to work into the front. Slip them both off, return the grey stitch. And again, once you've worked a good few stitches, you'll see that everything starts to lie more neatly, and we've got our orange stitches on the needle and our grey stitches are in the horizontal band for the braid. You continue to work the 2-colour braid in exactly the same way, and it's finished off in exactly the same way as the single colour braid was. At the end of our final Vikkel braid manoeuvre, we've slipped the stitch to the left needle, but we didn't need to do that. We can bring it back, and we then are going to break the yarn that we used for the horizontal row of stitches and fasten it off, pulling it through. And we can now join that to the beginning of the round as we did for the single colour braid. Vikkel braids are a really excellent way to add horizontal interest to your knitted fabric and for framing other stitch patterns, as Lily Kate France has done in these lovely burnished mittens. I hope you'll feel confident now working Vikkel braids and that you'll be ready to add them to all sorts of new knitting projects. We're able to keep our video tutorials free from adverts thanks to the amazing support of our brilliant customers. You can find out more about confident knitting by clicking the link up in the top right hand corner here, and that'll take you over to our website and you'll find all the information you need. If you definitely don't want to miss our next video tutorial, do click the link in the bottom right hand corner to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then you'll know when our next one is released. Thank you ever so much for watching. Bye bye.